The Maple Leafs fail yet again to close out an opponent in the playoffs as they head back to Tampa Bay. Hey everyone, welcome into another SUN Sports Roundtable. Rob Wong joined alongside by Toronto Sun Sports columnist Steve Simmons and Toronto Sun Maple Leafs writer Terry Koshan. And guys, it was an ugly Game 5 for the Maple Leafs. A lot of hype and hysteria heading into the game that maybe the Maple Leafs could finally do it and advance to the second round for the first time in 19 years. But that was not the case. Steve, we'll start with you. Plenty of blame seemingly to go around for game number 5, but who stands out the most for you?
Well, obviously, people are looking at the pair of Justin Hull and Mark Giordano, who got scored on 3 times at even strength last night. I'm going to look at Hull by himself for a moment, just because he does not seem to be able to compete at even strength in this series, and he has been a detriment on the Maple Leafs defense. But I'm looking at this as the whole group. They weren't ready to start the game again. They scored to go up 1-0 and gave up a goal 26 seconds later. The entire city was as engaged, as excited as I've ever seen a Leaf, crowd be on the day of a game. And you would think some of that would match to the team. But for some reason, they play the last 4 minutes as though those are desperate, but they don't play the first 4 minutes like they're desperate. And they've been doing this all the way through this 0-10 streak. They don't start hockey games well. They don't come out engaged. They don't take over. And I don't understand it.
And we saw what happens when it works. The best players need to be your best players. Game 4, third period in Tampa, Austin Matthews puts the team on his shoulders, and they go out and win. The Kerfoot goal in overtime. There's no carryover of that. And I think some of this goes into the opponent and who they're playing. And I know that it's happened in the past, and they haven't closed out teams and all this sort of thing. But for me, it's a big issue. We can talk all we want about the lessons learned and first-round losses and the scars that come with it, maturing. Well, give me the scars and lessons from the team that has won 2 cups and gone to the final the other year, in the past 3 years, over what the Leafs have endured every day of the week and twice on Sunday. To me, there's no comparison. Tampa's feathers get ruffled by nothing. Even if the Leafs had come out hard last night and taken it to Tampa, do we think Tampa Bay Lightning are just going to go away? Absolutely not. Well, the Leafs have to get somehow in the next, 36 hours or whatever it is now, have to get that mentality, put that mentality to the side. And if I'm the coaching staff, I'm stressing, look at here's how this worked in the third period. In Tampa, or Steve, you talk about the last 4 minutes now they played. I say extrapolate that to the 20 in Tampa. Do that from the beginning. But again, the other issue here too now is you have a goaltender down in Tampa that his confidence is back. Whether that had waned or not, I don't know. But the fact of the matter is he was a factor in Game 5 when his poor play had been a factor in earlier games. So that's something for the Leafs to think about as well. But, all this maturing and lessons, if it's happened, let's see it for once and for all in Game 6.
If they had lost last night and Stamkos had scored 2 and Kucherov had scored 2 and Point had been great, then I'd say, boy, hats off to those great players from the Tampa Bay Lightning. But what happened again, and it happened last year, and it happened years before against Montreal? You can go back. The Isamons, whoever the heck this guy is. Nick Paul hasn't scored in months. He scores. In this series, Killorn has been a threat. Killorn hadn't scored in months. Why are these kind of players producing? Where are the Maple Leafs' version of those kind of guys? Where is production coming from the unknown or the unexpected or that kind of thing? To have success in the playoffs, yes, your stars have to be your stars. Yes, your great players have to be great. But you need a chip in from somebody else somewhere along the line. And we saw it last night when guys, you couldn't pick out of a police lineup were scoring goals for Tampa Bay.
Kerfoot had ever scored in overtime in game 4. So the Leafs have got that. I think it's magnified on Game 5 because Tampa got it more than the Leafs did. But you're right, Steve. Game 6, there has to be more of that from top to bottom.
Well, you mentioned Game 6, Terry, going on Saturday night as we look ahead here. You did touch on it. I mean, some of the things that need to change, the start for sure, but is there one player in particular that stands out to you that needs to bring their best?
Well, I think they all do, which is easy to say. I think what you have to do is you have to put Michael Bunting into the lineup, and if that's Sam Lafferty or Zach Aston-Reese coming out, you do that. You make that move. And then in the blue line, if Justin Hall comes out, Timothy Liljegren comes in, you make that move. I think these things have to be done. You know, Michael Bunting's a guy who started the series on the top line. He's a top 6 player. You need him in Game 6, and you would trust that he can toe that line. Look, again, depth players have to be your depth players and all that, but we saw what happens when Austin Matthews can lead a team to victory in Game 4, and those guys have to be those players again in Game 6, I think.
Tampa has made changes in their lineup virtually every game, some because of injury, some just because of circumstance. The Leafs have stuck primarily with the same lineup. I think now it's time to do something significant. And by significant, I mean go from the 12 forwards, 6 defensemen, the conventional lineup, to 11 forwards and 7 defensemen. And the reason I say that is I think Justin Holt can kill penalties. That is his strength as an NHL defenseman. Right now, clearly his confidence or Tampa's ability to penetrate him is now a detriment. He's been on for way too many goals against. So you have to get him off the ice, except for shorthanded situations. You move Timothy Liljegren in as a partner to Giordano. That gives you 3 pairs and a guy who can kill penalties. And now you remove a Lafferty or a Zach Aston-Reese from the lineup, and maybe both of them as you move Bunting back in, and you go 11 and 7, and that gives you more Matthews and more Marner and more Nylander and more Tavares and more O'Reilly in those circumstances. In a game, again, must win is a cliche, but it's a must win.
Well, let's see what happens in game number 6. As always, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. For Steve Simmons and Terry Koshan, I'm Rob Wong. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time on another SUN Sports Roundtable.